Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. And we're continuing our series of daily morning meditations where most days we look at one of the readings assigned for morning and evening prayer, which is known as the Daily Office Lectionary. But the last couple of days, we've gotten off on a couple of deviations. We talked about Thomas à Kempis 2 days ago. Yesterday, we talked about St. James, the apostle, and how his martyrdom is a part of what we call the seed of the church. The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. And so we talked about the importance of our being able to love Jesus Christ, even to the point where we would be willing to die for the truth that he is Lord. Today, we have a special celebration here at St. John's, and it's what we call Founders Day. Now, we don't actually celebrate Founders Day here at St. John's on the day that we were founded, on the anniversary, because we were founded on December 27th, 1858. And the problem is it's hard to get people together 2 days after Christmas for a celebration. So we've decided to take the last Sunday in July and celebrate the good news of God in Jesus Christ and how it is that this parish has been able to faithfully proclaim that gospel here on this corner of Woodward Avenue and the Fisher Freeway, which was previously Woodward Avenue and Verner Highway, which before that was Woodward Avenue and High Street. The city has had several names for the street next to St. John's. We have stayed within 60 feet of the same location, but we have had several names for our side street. It is a remarkable thing what happened here in 1858. This part of Detroit, it's hard to imagine, was farmlands and orchards. And in fact, people were starting to build their country houses out in the neighborhood surrounding what is now St. John's Church. One of those people was a man named Henry Porter Baldwin. Henry Porter Baldwin was a prosperous shoe merchant who eventually became a banker, and he was a politician, went on to be governor of Michigan and a U.S. senator. Henry Porter Baldwin built a country house, which was located across Woodward Avenue, where I-75 now stands. And when the apple orchard across the street from his house became available for sale, being a good churchman, he was the senior warden of the old St. Paul's Parish, which was down on the river, now our Cathedral Parish, further up on Woodward and Warren. When the land became available, Henry Porter Baldwin made an investment and bought the land with the idea of founding an Episcopal church. He had this crazy idea that the city of Detroit would not just grow along the river like most urban areas do, but would also grow up Woodward Avenue towards the north. And so he thought this would be a perfect position for an Episcopal church. He had designed a chapel seating about 125, and then a larger church which he thought should seat at least 1,000 people. And on December 6th, the feast of St. Nicholas, he called together all of his neighbors who had built these country houses in the area and made an offer that he would donate the land, the blueprints, and the first $1,000 if he could raise with them the next $6,000. A week later, on December 13th, the Feast of St. Lucy, they had all the money pledged and in the bank. How do you like that for fast going? And so that money was then put on deposit, and they began to speak with the bishop's office about founding this parish. And then 2 weeks later, on December 27th, the Feast of St. John the Evangelist, the parish was formally incorporated and became a parish. We were eventually admitted to the diocesan convention, which is how you become a parish of the diocese, when the building was built. So ground was broken in April of 1859, and the chapel itself was opened in the November 17th of 1859. They blessed it on, that was a Thursday. They had a solemn evensong with the bishop and blessed the building because they didn't have a mortgage. You have to be unencumbered to have a building blessed dedicated for church use, but it was paid for in full. They ran into a little problem, however. The following Sunday after worship, on Monday night, they had their annual parish meeting to re-elect the board that had been chosen the year before and to do what was known as pew rents. You used to actually rent the pews in the old days, not just pass the collection plate. Nowadays, we act like we own our pew, don't we? But in those days, you actually rented it for the year. And they ran into a huge problem because that little chapel that they built that seats 125 people, the chapel we still use, They figured they would use that for 5 to 10 years before they had to build the big church. Well, on that first weekend, on that Monday night, they had 600 people apply for pew rents. The building was already too small. And so a week later, the vestry met and decided that they would begin construction, raising money and construction on the big church immediately. And lo and behold, 20 months later, what we now know as St. John's Church, which in its final plan used to seat 1,300 people, seats about 800 now because we've reorganized the seating, but that building was built 20 months after the chapel. It took longer than that, folks, for us to renovate the office building and the undercroft, but that's another story. So we are really grateful for the founders of this parish who did wonderful work in trying to promote the kingdom of God, knowing that people would be moving into this neighborhood. And of course, we know that this neighborhood would change from farmlands and summer houses to grand Victorian housing to a commercial district, to warehouses, to being an absolutely dilapidated area with a theater across the street that was falling apart, 2 of them, which have now been lovingly restored, the Fox and the Fillmore, used to be the State Theater. And of course now we are smack dab in the middle of what is known as the District of Detroit, where my front steps, I can stand there on the front steps of St. John's, and 250 yards in one direction is home plate for the Detroit Tigers, and 250 yards the other direction is center court for the Pistons and center ice for the Red Wings. Oh, and the Lions are a block the other direction. So really an amazing location that Henry Porter Baldwin could have never imagined when he bought that apple orchard in 1858. But here's the good news. The neighborhood has changed. Things about the building have changed. We've had several beautiful renovations. But what has not changed is our faith in Jesus Christ. And Henry Porter Baldwin and the founders of this parish, and all through time, could come back and sit in our pews and recognize our worship, recognize our faith, because our faith in Jesus Christ has not changed. Thanks be to God for the founders who laid that foundation, and for all the faithful who continue to proclaim the good news that Jesus Christ is Lord. I look forward to seeing you today at church. I hope you could make it. If not, watch our live streams. May God bless you with a glorious Sunday.